Yasodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Chiravanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabihari Kunjabihari Jaya Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Yasodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yasodanandana Yamuna Chiravanachari Chiravanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabihari Kunjabihari Jaya Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari Vallabha Girivardhari Yasodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Ranjana Yamuna Chiravanachari Yamuna Chari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabihari Radha Madhava Kunjabihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabihari Kunjabihari Jaya Prabhupada 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 Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parvakacharya Stadru Sadhu Srimad His Divine Grace Shyamakunda Radhakunda Giri Govardhana ki Vrindavanam ki Mayapur ki Gangamaya ki Yamunamaya ki Tulsi Devi ki Samaveda Bhaktivinoda ki Harinam Sankirtan ki Free Up and Danga Book Distribution ki Transcendental Prashadam Distribution ki Transcendental Cow Protection ki New Govardhana Dham ki Gaur Premanande All glories to some of the devotees. All glories to some of the devotees. Hare Krishna. All glories to some of the devotees. Hare Krishna. All glories to Shri Shri Guru and Chi Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 24, entitled The Renunciation of Kadama Muni. Text 6, is that correct? Yep. Tasyam bahu tithe kale Bhagavan Madhusudana Kadamam Viyamapano Jagnegni Iva Daruni Tasyam baho tite kale Bhagavan Madhusudana Kadamam Vayamapano Jagyagni Ivadaruni Tasyam baho tite kale Bhagavan Madhusudana Kadamam Vayamapano Jagyagni Ivadaruni Ladies. Jagyagni Ivadaruni. You do it together if you like. No? Okay. Tasyam in Devahuti. Bahutite Kale. After many years. Bhagavan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Madhusudana, the killer of the demon Madhu. Kadamam, of Kadama. Viyam, the semen. Apana, entered. Jagne, he appeared. Agni, fire. Eva, like. Daruni, in wood. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. After many, many years, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Madhusudan, the killer of the demon Madhu, having entered the semen of Kadama, appeared in Devahuti just as fire comes from wood in a sacrifice. Please repeat. After many, many years, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Madhusudan, the killer of the demon Madhu, having entered the semen of Kadama, appeared in Devahuti, just as fire comes from wood in a sacrifice. Purport. It is clearly stated here that the Lord is always the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Although he appeared as the son of Kadama Muni, fire is always already present in wood, but by a certain process fire is kindled. Similarly, God is all-pervading. He is everywhere, and since he may come out from everything, he appeared in his devotee's semen. Just as an ordinary living entity takes his birth by taking shelter of the semen of a certain living entity, the Supreme Personality of Godhead accepts the shelter of the semen of his devotee and comes out as his son. This manifests his full independence to act in any way
And it does not mean that he is an ordinary living entity forced to take birth in a certain type of womb. Lord Nrsimha appeared from the pillar of Hiranyakasipu's palace. Lord Varaha appeared from the nostril of Brahma. And Lord Kapila appeared from the semen of Kadama. But this does not mean that the nostril of Brahma, or the pillar of Hiranyakasipu's palace, or the semen of Kadama Muni is the source of the appearance of the Lord. The Lord is always the Lord. Bhagavan Madhusudana, he is the killer of all kinds of demons, and he always remains the Lord, even if he appears as the son of a particular devotee. The word Kadamam is significant, for it indicates that the Lord had some devotional affection or relationship in devotional service with Kadama and Devahuti. But we should not mistakenly understand that he was born just like an ordinary living entity from the semen of Kadama Muni in the womb of Devahuti. Translation: after many, many years, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Madhusudan, the killer of the demon Madhu, having entered the semen of Kadama, appeared in Devahuti just as fire comes from wood in a sacrifice. Om Ajnana Chamandasya Gyananjana Salakaya Chakshu Umalatam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Nasarpresho Bhadresho Nityam Bhagavate Sevaya Bhagavati Yuttamusloke Bhakti Bhavati Naistaki. So here we have the story as it goes on. Devahuti is about to give birth to the Supreme Personality of Godhead as Lord Kapila. She's lamenting, as the last chapter is entitled, Devahuti's Lamentation. She was lamenting because she felt she was too caught up in sense gratification, material enjoyment. But Kadama Muni is consoling her that you don't have to worry because you're so fortunate that the Lord is about to appear in your womb. And after the Lord appears, then Kadama Muni, he becomes detached. So this chapter is the renunciation of Kadama Muni. He takes the renounced order of life. So here Srila Prabhupada is stating that the Lord is always the Lord, whether he appears in semen of his great devotee, here Kadama Muni, or he appears out of a pillar as Lord Nrsingadev, or he appears out of the nostril of Lord Brahma as Lord Varaha. The Lord's never affected by these circumstances. An ordinary living entity within the womb of his mother, transferred from the semen from his father to the womb of his mother, is totally in ignorance, totally forgetful of his eternal constitutional position as a loving servant of Krishna. But the Lord, no matter in what circumstance we see the Lord, he's always completely the Supreme Personality of Godhead. All-knowing, omniscient, all-knowing, omnipotent, all-powerful, and omnipresent, present everywhere, at all times. So Srila Prabhupada was saying in one lecture that God is always God, whether he's a baby on the lap of his mother, Yashoda, God is God. Whether he's killing the demons, God is God, killing the demons. Whether he's dancing with the gopis, he is God. Whether he's driving Arjuna's chariot on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, he is God. Whether he's instructing the Bhagavad Gita to Arjuna, he is God. Whether he's appearing in many different forms, as Srila Prabhupada says here, Lord Nrsingadev, Varaha, sometimes as a fish, Matsya, avatar, giant fish, as a very powerful warrior incarnation, Parashuram. All these different incarnations, they have the same potency. He's always the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Like Srila Prabhupada says that you can have one candle and you can light many other candles from that one candle, but still there's the original candle, but still all the other candles, they have the same potency as the original candle. So Krishna is the original Supreme Personality of Godhead, but all the other incarnations, like here we're about to hear about Lord Kapila, who came to teach the process of devotional service to help living entities become extricated from material enjoyment and material illusion and being reinstated in their eternal occupational service of loving devotional service to Krishna. So this is the ultimate teaching of Lord Kapila. But still, even as Lord Kapila, he has the same potency as Krishna. So this is that as aspiring devotees, we're taught to come to this platform where we can see Krishna everywhere, in all circumstances. The devotee, whatever he sees, he might see the sun or the moon, and immediately he remembers Krishna. Because Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita of, I am the... What does he say? I am the sun and the moon? Light of the sun and the moon. So Krishna says things like, Rasoham napsa kuntaya, I am the taste of water. So when the devotee tastes that beautiful taste of water, he thinks of Krishna. This is coming from Krishna. This is a form of Krishna. Prabhashmi sasasoyoyo, I am the light of the sun and the moon. As soon as we see the light of the sun and the moon, the devotee is thinking this is like, this beautiful light is coming from Krishna. These are like Krishna's eyes. Pranavasava Vedeshu. Krishna says, I am the syllable Om in the Vedic mantras. So Om is not different from chanting Hare Krishna. Sabdake Purusham Rishu. Krishna says, Sabdake, that I am sound and ether. When the devotee hears any sound, he is reminded of Krishna. This is coming from Krishna. This is a form of Krishna. Purusham Rishu, I am the ability in man. Whatever ability we see in anyone is a form of Krishna. Of immovable objects, I am the Himalayas. Of aquatics, I am the shark. Of beasts, I am the lion. Would anyone like to name any more? Krishna says in the... Sorry? That's right. Mount Meru says, of sacrifices, I'm the chanting of the holy name. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So just as we might see, like, we see Srila Prabhupada's shoes, we're automatically reminded of Srila Prabhupada's form, his teachings, his presence, his qualities, his pastimes. So when we see these things in material nature, devotees are automatically reminded of the personality of Godhead, Krishna, and his glories. Whereas a materialist, he's seeing all these things as objects for his sense gratification, to fulfill his selfish desires. So he never sees Krishna, he never sees God, he never sees that everything is owned and controlled by the Lord. Ishivasham idam savam yatkincha jagatam jagat tena chaktena bunchita makhasha svidid. Got the last line. It says that everything within the universe is owned and controlled by the Lord. One who has been set a certain quota should accept those things in service to Krishna and not encroach upon others' property. knowing well to whom they belong. So as stated in the 7th canto, there's one famous verse by Prahlad Maharaj. Na te vidu svatam gatim hi vishnum durashaya ye bihi atamanina andaya tandai upaniyamanas te pisitadram ori damni badha. Persons who are strongly entrapped by the consciousness of enjoying material life and who have therefore accepted as their leader or guru, a similar blind man attached to external sense objects cannot understand that the goal of life is to return home, back to Godhead, and engage in the service of Lord Vishnu. As blind men guided by another blind man miss the right path and fall into a ditch, materially attached men led by another materially attached man are bound by the ropes of fruit of labour, which are made of very strong cords, and they continue again and again materialistic life, suffering the threefold miseries. So basically the materialist, he doesn't know that the goal of life is to remember Krishna, to always be engaged in the service of Krishna, to glorify Krishna, and to go back home, back to the spiritual world. Because of attachment to material pleasures in this world, because of attachment to sense gratification, because of identifying with the material body, identifying with this material world as one's real home, thinking I am Australian, I'm Chinese, black or white, Christian, Hindu, all these false upadhis, false designations. He cannot actually, his intelligence is covered. He cannot understand the real goal of life. Unless the living entity comes to the purified state of consciousness by taking up a bona fide process of devotional service like this bhakti yoga process as enunciated by Srila Prabhupada and his followers and the previous acharyas. They're giving us this process and so that we can totally purify our consciousness, purify so many misidentifications and come to understand that we are eternally a spirit soul, part and parcel of Krishna, and that our real business, our real goal of life is to constantly engage in loving service to Krishna. And we see that unless the living entity has the opportunity to take up this process, devotional service, then he's never happy, he's never satisfied. Just like Prabhupada says, simple example, the fish out of water. You can give him the greatest mansion, the greatest material pleasures, great, nice, beautiful food, a beautiful bed to sleep on with a female fish, and a Rolls Royce with a chauffeur. But is the fish going to be happy? No. In a few moments he'll die. But you just throw him back in the water, he becomes satisfied. So in the material world, all living entities are like that. No matter what sort of material enjoyment they take to, they're never satisfied. Like the Bhagavatam says, the materialist, he's engaging in sense gratification, especially sex life, is considered the highest pleasure in the material world. But even by repeated sense enjoyment, repeated sex life, he's never satisfied. But Krishna consciousness, because it's the nature of the soul to always remember Krishna, to never forget Krishna, to always be engaged in his service, then it's totally satisfying. The proof of the pudding is in the eating, right? Like Srila Prabhupada quoted Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. He said, you cannot taste the honey by licking the outside of the bottle, but if you simply take the lid off and put the spoon in, put it in your mouth, you can know what the honey tastes like. So many people may speculate, well, how do you know that this process of devotional service can make you happy? How do you know that it can help you achieve love for God and help you understand your eternal relationship with God, or help you get free from material desires? Well, the proof is in the pudding. We encourage people, just try chanting Hare Krishna, dancing in ecstasy, taking prasadam, engaging in varieties of service, hearing these transcendental literatures. We can practically experience, devotees are practically experiencing every day 24 hours a day we're experiencing param drishva nivartate, a higher taste, in which the so-called tastes of this material world pale in insignificance. Even the highest pleasure of the material world, sex life, the attraction between male and female, it pales in insignificance compared to the happiness of simply chanting and dancing and hearing this transcendental philosophy and engaging in loving service to Krishna. But that attraction between male and female, as Lord Rishabhdev says in the 5th canto, Pumsastriya mituni bhavametam, he says that the basic principle of material existence is the attraction between male and female. On the basis of this misconception, which ties together the hearts of the male and female, one thinks in terms of I and mine, that I am the man, I am black, I am white, I'm Australian, Chinese, French, etc. And he thinks that everything is mine. This is my house, my wife, my children, my bank balance, my car. And on the basis of these misconceptions, he becomes more and more entangled in the material world and in forgetfulness. The greatest anatta, the greatest entanglement is to forget our eternal relationship with Krishna. As soon as we come to the platform where we can turn our face to Krishna again and engage in loving service and remember Krishna always. This is the business of all the devotees in this Krishna consciousness movement, is always to remember Krishna 24 hours a day, never forget Krishna. If we can come to this platform, we can feel ourselves becoming free from the ignorance, the illusions of this material world, from the misidentifications. We can actually come to the platform where gradually we understand that I'm not this body, I'm not this mind, I'm not the material intelligence, but I'm the pure spirit soul, and I don't belong in this material world. And if I take up this process of this Yugadam, chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. This chanting of Hare Krishna is directly transported from Goloka Vrindavan, Goloka Premadana Harinama Sankirtana, Rati Najan Milo Kenatai. But we don't have much taste for the chanting, but if we keep on chanting, keep on performing devotional service, gradually we'll develop more and more taste. And as the taste comes more and more for serving Krishna, loving Krishna, then the taste for material enjoyment gradually subsides. And we shouldn't be surprised that we still have attraction for material pleasures, material enjoyment in this world. Is very, very, very strong, very, very powerful, these material attractions. As Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Daiva hiya shugunamayi mama ma durachaya mame vaye prabhajante mayam etam tarantite. This divine energy of mine, consisting of the 3 modes of material nature, is very difficult to overcome, but those who are surrendered unto me can easily cross beyond it. So very difficult to overcome. And we see here in the story of Kadama Muni and Devahuti that they also were engaged in material enjoyment, family life and sex life, producing children. Of course, their family life, their material enjoyment, their sex life was no ordinary, mundane sense gratification like we understand. At the same time, they were always fixed in remembering Krishna, serving the Lord. But we see at one point in the previous chapter, Prabhupada describes the Devahuti. She became overly excited for sex life. And so that's why she produced 9 daughters. Prabhupada says in the purport that in sex life, when the discharge of the female is greater, then one produces a female child. When the discharge of the male is greater, then one produces a male child. Generally, this is what happens. But at the same time, from one's mundane vision, one may think, wow, they were just totally caught up in sense gratification, sex life, material desires, opulence, their great, aerial mansion traveling all around the universe. But if one can see with spiritual vision, one can understand that these are actually Nitya Siddhas. They're eternally liberated souls. And they're in the pages of the Srimad Bhagavatam. It's only the Nitya Siddhas, the great souls that are mentioned in the pages of the Srimad Bhagavatam, the greatest literature in all the three worlds. And many of our great acharyas were also situated in family life for a certain period of their life. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Srila Prabhupada, Lord Chaitanya himself was in family life, although he didn't have any children. And so many of his followers were grihastas. So it doesn't mean that just because one is in the grihasta ashram that he's not always engaged in remembering Krishna or serving Krishna. Of course, that may be the case, that we may become somewhat forgetful in brahmacharini life. Then it's like the sure path back home, back to Godhead. You've got no distractions. It's just 24/7, engaging 24 hours a day in Krishna service. Great, wonderful opportunity to be a totally liberated soul. But in grihastha life, as many of us have experienced, there's so many distractions. Once one devotee said to Prabhupada, so many of our grihasthas, they're in Maya. Prabhupada said, that's all right, that's their business to be in Maya. So one has to, so many dealings, especially with children, they're not necessarily all going to just rush to the temple and want to engage in service to Krishna. Even Srila Prabhupada, he had 5 children. 4 of them didn't take up Krishna consciousness. Only one, what was his name? He just passed away recently, I saw. Vrindavan Das. And even one of Srila Prabhupada's children tried to take it to court and try and usurp, like all of ISKCON, claiming it to be his own. Sri Advaita Acharya, he's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He was a grihastha. He had 6 children. 3 were devotees, but 3 were Mayavadis. So we shouldn't be surprised if our children are not rushing to come to the programs at the temple. Even the festivals, they may not even want to come to the festivals. Even sometimes I encourage my children, well, do you want to just come for breakfast or dinner? No. And, we shouldn't be surprised if some of them, especially as so much powerful influence of Kali Yuga out there, they may dabble in intoxication or illicit sex, meat eating. So we try and protect them from these things, but when they get to teenage years, it may be they may go off the path a little bit. But still, whatever ashram or varna one is situated in, one should practice at seeing Krishna everywhere, always remembering Krishna, and always engaging in his loving devotional service. Just as Prabhupada gives the example here of fire. Fire is always present in wood, but you may not see it in wood. But by expert arrangement, like the Aboriginals, they can rub 2 sticks together, or we light a match, and you can bring the fire out of wood. But within the wood, you cannot see the fire with your naked eye. So similarly, one may not see Krishna everywhere, but with a practiced eye, with eyes of devotion tinged with the salve of love, then a devotee, he's trained and he has the purity to see Krishna at every step, everywhere, in the hearts of all living entities, in every aspect of material nature and especially in the pages of the Srimad Bhagavatam, his transcendental pastimes and forms and qualities and names. And Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita in chapter 6, text 30, he says, for one who sees me everywhere and sees everything in me, I am never lost, nor is he ever lost to me. So this is the main goal of our life. All the different rules and regulations, they hinge on these two things. Always remember Krishna, see Krishna everywhere, and never forget Krishna. So Srila Prabhupada's given us this wonderful Krishna consciousness movement, these wonderful temple programs, so that we can come to these powerful programs like Mangalarti, Nrsingadev prayers, Tulsi prayers, Guru Puja, Srimad Bhagavatam class, Darshan, and engaging in so many activities of devotional service, associating with devotees, taking prasadam, engaging in kirtan, chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And if we take up all these activities, they're so powerful, so purifying that gradually we can come to the platform where we can see Krishna everywhere, see everything in Krishna, see everything as the property of Krishna, see everything. The devotee sees everything as owned by Krishna, and it should be reinstated in his service, given back to Krishna. The materialist, he's taking everything as his belongings. So Srila Prabhupada said he's like a thief. Like there's basically three types of people: the materialist, the jnani, and the devotee. So Prabhupada says the materialist is like a person who comes along, he sees a $10 bill on the ground, and he thinks, I'll take that for myself and use it for my own gratification. The jnani is like a person who comes along, sees the $10 bill, and he's thinking, well, it doesn't belong to me, I'll just leave it there. But the devotee, he sees the $10 bill and he's thinking, this belongs to someone, let me return it to its rightful owner. So this is like the devotee. He sees everything and he's thinking, how can I return it to its rightful owner, Krishna? So, as I was saying before, the devotee, he's always reminded of Krishna. Just like Prabhupada gives the example of a dog. You know, a dog may bark, and the devotee, he's thinking that this barking ability from the dog, although it's not very palatable for our ears to hear barking dogs, that ability is coming from Krishna. But Prabhupada says that materialist, he will pay, $50, $100 to go and see a man imitate a barking dog. But he will pay no attention to the Supreme Personality, Krishna, who's giving the ability to all living entities in their particular, whatever ability they have. Just like Prabhupada says also, one materialist may create a huge plane like a 747, but even one thing that goes wrong with that plane could end up in a great plane crash. So the materialists, they're very infatuated with these, machines, aeroplanes, skyscrapers. But Srila Prabhupada says that Krishna, he's floating billions and billions of planets within the universes simultaneously. And he personally doesn't have to take part. Just by his will, it's all going on. And none of them are crashing or colliding. And like Srila Prabhupada says also in one lecture, that the materialists, they become infatuated in modern times with mundane art, just some mundane landscape, or even worse than that, so many weird paintings. But why don't they become attracted to all these beautiful landscapes who are created by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, and recognize behind? Just as when someone sees a mundane painting, one thinks of maybe the famous artist behind that painting. So when we see all these beautiful things in nature, the devotee thinks automatically, who is the person behind all of this? Who is the creator? Who is the controller? Who is the enjoyer? Who's it all meant for? So here we're just beginning the story of the renunciation of Kadamba Muni. So, of course, many of us may not take the fully renounced order of life sannyas, although this is the ultimate goal in the Varnashram system, is that gradually a man, he comes to this point where he takes sannyas. But Srila Prabhupada says sannyas, the real meaning of sannyas is always to be engaged in Krishna service 24 hours a day, always remembering Krishna and thinking of ways how to spread Krishna's glories all around the world. So whether we're situated in the brahmachari, brahmacharini, grihastha, vanaprastha, sannyas, this is real sannyas, is to be fully Krishna conscious. And we see there's so many grihastas like all around the world, or brahmacharis or different devotees in different ashrams, not necessarily in the sannyas ashram, but they're doing so much wonderful service, spreading Krishna consciousness far and wide all around the world. Srila Prabhupada was very proud of his grihastha disciples in the early days, how they were taking Krishna consciousness to new frontiers, new cities all around the world. So Srila Prabhupada's established these programs like we have in the temple, like the morning program, so that all of us can come and take advantage of hearing and chanting, remembering, serving, engaging in these different processes of devotional service. Srila Prabhupada says even if we apply ourselves seriously to one of these processes, we can achieve the perfection of life, Krishna Prem, full love for Krishna. Sukadeva Goswami, just by speaking the Bhagavatam, he perfected his life. Of course, he was already a liberated soul. Maharaj Parikshit, just by hearing the Srimad Bhagavatam, he attained full Krishna consciousness. Prahlad Maharaj, just by remembering Krishna always, he was fully Krishna conscious. Lakshmi, by worshipping the lotus feet. Prithu Maharaj, by deity worship. Hanuman, by being a great servant of the Lord. Arjuna, by being the greatest friend of the Lord. And was it Bali Maharaj? By giving everything to the Lord. Did I miss any? So these are the 9 processes of devotional service. So we have the opportunity where every day, 24 hours a day, we can engage in all of these 9 processes of devotional service. Srila Prabhupada's created this wonderful ISKCON movement so that we can always hear about Krishna's pastimes, his qualities, hear about the wonderful devotees like Kadamba Muni, Devahuti. We can always chant the glories, we can always remember, engage in deity worship, become a servant, offer everything to the Lord, become a friend of the Lord. So we should take advantage as much as possible to engage in these processes and help Srila Prabhupada spread this Krishna consciousness movement all around the world. There's so many millions and billions of living entities out there who know nothing about Krishna. And if we don't go out, this is the Sankirtan movement, the movement of the street, taking the movement out to the street. We see not so many people coming to the temple in Kali Yuga. So we have to take the temple out to the street. Harinam Sankirtan, book distribution, Prashadam distribution. This way we can reach thousands of living entities. And now we have Sankirtan team building up here, devotees going out every day and attracting so many people, giving so many people unlimited mercy and benefit of this, of Lord Chaitanya's Sankirtan movement, Srila Prabhupada's Sankirtan movement. Wonderful opportunity for all of them to come in touch with their eternal relationship with Krishna. And I've been thinking recently that Like Srila Prabhupada said, the book distribution, distributing these books is the greater mridanga, the brihat mridanga. So we can chant Hare Krishna in the streets, but if you distribute these books, someone may pick up a book in Coolangatta and he takes it to Perth and gives it to his friend, and that person in Perth becomes a devotee. But I've been thinking that no, the Harinam Sankirtan and Prasadam distribution they're also very, very important, very, very powerful. Because like when we go out books on the street, we can meet maybe 20 or 50 or 100 people in a day, and maybe 20 or 50 or 100 people get a book. But if we go out chanting also, there's a Sankirtan chanting party, Harinam Sankirtan, then thousands and thousands of people. They may not take a book, they may not even take prasadam, they may not even stop to talk to devotees, but still they're eternally benefited by hearing the loud chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. So we have to have strong faith with realization that these processes can give the living entity unlimited benefit and freedom from all their sinful reactions for millions of lifetimes. The sixth canto states, Sankecham Parayasham Stobam Elanam Evava, that if one chants Hare Krishna, even unknowingly, or even derisively, or even for musical entertainment, jokingly, he's freed from more sins than he can commit in millions of lifetimes. So we have to have faith with realization that chanting of Hare Krishna is Krishna. Krishna's all his qualities, pastimes, all his forms are manifest in the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. And these transcendental literatures are literary incarnations. Krishna Sa Dhamma Bhagate, Dhamma Gana Saha. This Srimad Bhagavatam, which is as brilliant as the sun, has appeared just after the disappearance of Krishna, accompanied by knowledge, religion, etc. Persons who have lost their vision due to the dense darkness of the age of Kali shall get light from this Bhagavat Purana. So we have to be convinced that this Srimad Bhagavatam is Krishna. And it's because every word, every line, every page is full of descriptions of Krishna and his devotees. So if we're convinced that Krishna is personally present, very powerfully present in these transcendental literatures, these pastimes, in the holy name, in prasadam, then we'll be more and more enthusiastic to go and give this wonderful mercy to many conditioned souls out there. Just like some devotee gave us this wonderful mercy. Somehow or other we achieved the wonderful mercy. We got a book, we got prasadam, we met the devotees, we came to the temple, came to a festival, and we became enlivened, we became enthusiastic. We actively became enthusiastic to take up devotional service, even just by a slight contact with this movement. So we always say every morning, Srila Prabhupada is the saviour of the whole world. So how are we going to save the whole world unless we go out and preach Krishna consciousness? Of course, many, many people are coming here. That's wonderful. Many, many people are very receptive and qualified coming to Krishna village, joining the ashrams, Krishna pad. But there's still millions of people out there who don't know anything about Krishna. Unless we go out, then they'll never know. So we have to go out with force, with as many devotees and as many hours in the day as we can, to give as many living entities the chance to take up Krishna consciousness and increase the family, increase this transcendental family. So, finish there. Does anyone have any questions or comments? We have a microphone? Yes. Hare Krishna.
When it comes to the desire to save the world, what role do we, but then also the teaching that we should give up the desire for the fruits of our actions? How do we and have that excitement, have that passion, but also give it all up?
Give it up for Krishna, yeah. Dovetail, like Srila Prabhupada says, dovetail all your material desires for name, fame, adoration, for accumulation of material things in this world, for satisfying your senses, dovetail all these desires in the service of Krishna, and they become purified by dovetailing all these things in the service of Krishna. Like Srila Prabhupada says in his books, and even Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, that even sex life on religious principles, I am that activity. Even you want to engage in sex life, we'll do it for trying to produce Krishna conscious children, raise them in Krishna consciousness as a service to Krishna. In this way, even these activities that on the material platform may seem very mundane or very distasteful, they can be, like Srila Prabhupada says in one purport, talking about Kadama Muni and Devahuti, their sex life was glorious sex life, because what was the result? That they produced ultimately the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So, yeah, so we have to, Krishna consciousness means giving up our selfish desires to enjoy this material world. We've done it for many lifetimes and we've never been satisfied in many different life forms. But now for one life, Srila Prabhupada says, just give your whole life to Krishna. All your words, all your thoughts, all your actions, all your possessions, all your time in Krishna's service. And experience the higher taste. Become ecstatic. And undam buddhi vardhanam. This devotional service, the more you dive into the ocean of devotional service, the more it becomes an ecstatic, ever-increasing ocean of transcendental bliss. So it takes practice, because we're conditioned for so many lifetimes to just trying to be the enjoyer, trying to be the controller. Now we have to turn it around and see who is the real enjoyer. Krishna. Who's the real controller, creator, owner? Krishna. Someone else have a question? Comment?
I was just reflecting on how you were talking about Harinam and how potent it was. And I have a memory, early 70s, maybe I'm seven years old. And I don't know, maybe there was a temple in Melbourne, 71, 72. Yep.
Burnett Street, St Kilda,
yep.
probably. Yeah.
So there was a Harinam. I was going to the Royal Melbourne Show, and it doesn't reflect well on me, but I remember seeing them and thinking, I have to get as far away from these people as possible. It was like I subliminally knew, as a kid, I'm 7, something like that, that I wanted to go to the Royal Melbourne Show, and you get bags of lollies and you go on rides, and it's like the ultimate in sense gratification for a kid. And the Harinam was the opposite. So anyway, it left a mark on me. That experience, I remember it distinctly. So the Harinam is definitely a potential for potency. And the other thing with the selflessness in service, there's nothing like the Grihastha ashram to purify you, because it's service in action, and it gets grimy. So I was thinking of the example of children. You were talking about children who don't necessarily take up Krishna consciousness, which it's partly our fault because we don't immerse them in the culture, and maybe that's just the culture we come from, and it's difficult, it'll take time. But in the end, I was thinking how an example of detachment from the desire to control would be when the kids are growing up and you remain constantly present for them despite their deviations, that you are always available to them, because often you can want to control the situation, and then when they don't do what you want, you'll punish them or reject them or whatever. That's that controlling propensity. If you can control yourself rather than them, you can control the desire to control. Okay, I'm going around in circles. Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Yeah, that's a nice point you made. Always be present for them and loving for them and kind for them, look after them. And they may not want to do anything really Krishna conscious at a certain period of their life, but just be the good mum, be the good dad, do everything with them, Like the other day I went 10-pin bowling with the kids, and a couple of their friends came along and go in the theme parks. They take me on the big rides. And I gave up going those big rides when I was 13. They said I never want to do it again. But then I got in my 50s, I was like, found myself doing it again. But I found it's actually a really good place to be really Krishna conscious, because if a devotee, you're just like, this is crazy, and you just like end up like screaming, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. You don't care what people think around you, you know. You think, this is mad, this is like, could be really potentially dangerous, you know. And the kids are loving it. So, yeah, I mean, I play tennis with my girls, go bike riding. But sometimes they don't even want to do all these things, you know. They just want to hang in their room on the iPads. What to do? Can't force them.
Yeah, you can't reject them. That would be the thing. It would be like the equivalent of Krishna and you. You have a choice. You know that little painting on the wall with the finger? Like, is it Michelangelo? Anyway, the painting of God, and he's stretching his hand out, and the man's finger has that choice to come up or not and connect. The point would be not to reject someone because they don't take it up.
Yeah.
And you can see an example of that whenever you read stories about Prabhupada. He was just constant, and you could take it or leave it.
Yeah, and just try and encourage them, in a nice way, gently. Come to festivals, come to the temple, and if they don't want to come, that's fair enough, you know. Don't push them. And regarding that, you were talking about the Melbourne show. I used to go there for about 10 years straight, from 95 to 2005. I was there like every year, every day of the show for 10 days, and taking boxes of books, about 3 or 4 boxes of books into the show, and a great places to do lots of books. You may do 20 or 50 books just on the street, but if you go to these big events, if you really get into it, you can do hundreds of books, you know. The kids, teenagers, they walk in groups, like 5 or 10, and so you stop them and you give them all a book. So they take all a book, heaps of books going out. So, Sankirtan team, it's good to take advantage of these places where there's extra crowds of people and give, you know, more and more people a chance to come to Krishna consciousness. Any other questions, comments? Okay. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.